Hi, I'm Adrianne Lynch with Local Badass Businesses, and I have Tara, correct?
It is,
I
yes.
have Tara Sachedina with me, and she is the owner and instructor of the Studio Phoenix, a social fitness club. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and hobbies that you have.
Cool. So I forgot about having hobbies once I started owning my own business.
I understand.
But I have two full-grown kids, so one 25, one 20, almost 21, and they both live here in the Valley, which is super nice. Family is super important to me. We have Sunday dinner every Sunday, and the kids come if they're in town and available. Food is super important to me, like connecting around a table and sharing in something that people created. My daughter is in the kitchen right now making homemade croissants. So that community sense, that feeling sense, that awareness of you don't have to be alone, right? I think we can feel really lonely in this digital age. So many things are done online and we get kind of lost and isolated in not having that human person-to-person contact. So anytime I can do that, it's really important for me. I love my dogs and getting outside and being with my family and having adventures and just enjoying as much as I can of whatever it is that I'm doing at the time.
I love it. It's amazing how fast our kids grow up. So it is having those times with them and dinners. And I feel like the older mine get, I'm the same. I'm like, I want family dinner tonight. And they just look at me like, really? We are around each other. I'm like, no, I want to sit at a table. I want to actually eat together.
It's different, right? Like I was looking up a while ago, we were doing something, and in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the amount of time that the average household spent on preparing food and then sitting down and having food together was like super big. And now it's like 10%, right? Like people just don't know what it's like to sit down at a table and have a proper meal and not be connected to your phone or looking at other things and really just talking to people around you. So it is super fun.
It is. I love it. I love it. So now tell us about your studio.
So we have a small boutique fitness studio in North Phoenix, and we offer a specialized type and amount of classes. So we do cycle, bar, yoga, meditation, and stretch classes. It's a curated group of classes that all complement each other based off of our foundation of being aligned first. So everything is done really intentionally and purposefully for the body in the proper alignment first, and then learning how to engage muscles, and then finally adding on movement. So it's super deliberate in what we do. It was important for me to have a space that was welcoming for every person. As a yoga person and a yoga teacher since 2008, I've been to lots of studios where you walk in and you think yoga, everybody loves each other. But unfortunately, you walk into these places and it can be so insular that the new person gets the side eye, right? And you don't feel comfortable. And then you go to another place, excuse me, and you're just people are looking at you, you feel like you don't belong. So it was important for me to have a place that didn't have that feeling or that energy. And I think we've done a really good job of creating that.
I think that's great. And I think what I love about, I was reading on your website that it's a place to go to belong, feel supported, and challenged. Yeah. I think that is the thing. I mean, people want to get in shape, but they don't know what a lot of this type of different exercises are, and can they do it? And then they're afraid to go in there to a group and not be able to do that. And so I think that's great that you're bringing them in and making them feel comfortable.
I mean, it's a big, scary thing. First off, nobody wants to feel like they don't know what they're doing. Nobody wants to feel like everybody else is looking at them because they don't know what they're doing. And then if we have had a previous injury, or maybe we've never worked out or been in group fitness classes ever, then I'm adding on that extra fear and insecurity of I don't want to hurt myself, or I'm too tight, or I'm too old, or I'm too big, or I'm too small, or I'm too, all of these things. So for any person that's just starting out, it can be super, super intimidating. And then if you go to some place and you have a bad experience, the likelihood that you're ever going to try again just goes down and down every time that that experience is anything less than uplifting and supportive.
No, I agree on that. So what made you decide to open the studio?
So I have been a yoga teacher and involved in the yoga scene since 2008. I started training with a barre studio called The Daily Method back in 2009 and was one of their first teachers when they opened up a Scottsdale location in 2009. I left there. Another person opened up another Daily Method in 2011, and I went on as her lead teacher and kind of a, you know, assistant type role. And then my husband and I purchased the studio from her, and then we transitioned away from the franchise model and went out onto our own brand and just expanded more into our own usness.
I think that's so great. I love it. One's husband, wife, and then launching your own business and Barre. Yeah. I went to a Barre class, and it's amazing. When I first went in, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I mean, it's like these little movements. And then the next day I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot move. I was like, I can't believe, but I feel like that one, it can be strenuous, but it's those who are looking for that kind of lower impact, especially if you get, like, I used to do marathons and stuff, a half marathon and the crazy 60-mile walk. So I have a foot that some days likes to work and some days doesn't. So I have to adjust the exercising based on what it's decided that it wants to do. And yeah, and that was one of those classes where it was like, okay, you can adjust how you need, but it doesn't seem so stressful when you walk in. You're like, oh, okay, I can do this one.
Oh my goodness. So yes, lots of things there. Everything is modifiable. Like, I have people coming in after hip replacements, after knee replacements, people after spinal fusions. I myself have taken class after foot surgery and in a boot. So like, everything is modifiable based off of how you're showing up in your body today, which is great, because if you are having like a foot that's not cooperating today, you can definitely adjust and still be in the room, still get the benefit of the practice and all of the things, instead of just like tapping out and being like, well, I guess I can't do anything for however long, right?
Right.
And then the less you move, the harder it is to move, right? So that kind of just compounds upon itself. And then too, barre classes are hard because it's kind of a flipped upside down approach to exercise. For us in the studio, we want you to get aligned first, strengthen muscle, and then maybe you move, but you're already working because you're doing these two other things. And so when you move, you don't have to move a lot to really amp it up. And the first class, like, I tell people all the time when they're asking about coming in and saying like, oh, can I just drop in and do one class? First class sucks. I mean, it's the worst, because your brain and your body are like, what the F is going on here? I don't understand why this doesn't look hard, but I can't do it. And then your ego brain starts talking, and it either says, that's because this is stupid, or that's because I'm stupid, right?
Right.
So either way, the ego is already like giving you a really good reason why this is just not for you. So the first class is the worst class. You should go back and do it again. Every single time you go, you kind of settle in a little bit more, right? It's less like, wah, and more like, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm doing this. Every time you go, one thing that the instructor says, you might be like, oh, I get that. Now I'm feeling that. And I mean, I've been taking barre classes since 2009 in this style or type of barre, and I have never once left the class and thought, well, I guess I'm at my peak, right? Like, I can't get any better. I always leave thinking, wow, that was enlightening. Either like I gave myself more modifications, I didn't move, I challenged myself. Like, it can be different literally every single day. So I think that's cool, right? Because it's always kind of evolving as you evolve in your own body.
And I think that's great. One thing I like about the smaller studios is that I feel like as we're younger, you know, we could do a lot of crazy things. We didn't stretch, we didn't get injured. And then, you know, there's a shift that starts happening the older we get. And then the body doesn't know. Like, my husband will say to me, he's like, remember, you are not 20, because I tend to be accident prone. I'm like, oh, I'm fine, I can go do this. And then I'll break something or sprain something. And I'm like, gosh darn it. Like, I might, but so I think in the smaller studios, it is nice because as we age too, we can't always be jumping around and you know, all these type of different aerobics type of classes. We need much more targeted that we're trying. And it's not always just to be losing weight, it's to be healthy, it's to be able to stretch and move and not be so stiff all the time. And so I like that you have those different modifications for them.
Yeah, it's so many things. My kind of rule with my teachers is that everybody gets touched at least once. And so that's for a couple different reasons. One, that human to human contact, right? We lose so much of that, especially people are taking classes online. Sometimes they don't even go anywhere and see people. And so having that human touch, I think, is really, really valuable. The other thing is, a lot of times when we do things repetitively over and over again, we kind of forget about what we're doing it, how we're doing. So we might think that we're in this proper alignment or whatever, but unless somebody actually points it out, you kind of become blind to it. So we touch everybody at least once. We are assisting and adjusting throughout the whole class. So the class sizes are small so that we can, I know you, I know what's going on in your body, and I can give you assistance to kind of make you tap into a deeper place in your practice.
So what would be some advice that you would tell someone that is kind of on the fence, that they really do want to get out there and work out and try this? What would be your advice for getting them in the door?
The hardest part is getting in the door. You know, once you get there, you just kind of get swept up in it, and then it becomes something that either really feeds and fuels you or it doesn't. And while I know anatomically and physically speaking what we do is the best for every single body regardless, it also takes a big emotional and energetic commitment, and not everybody's ready for that when they walk in the doors. So the biggest thing I would say is, like, come with an open mind, no matter where you go, right? And if it doesn't feel right to you, like if that little voice in the back of your head is like, oh, that doesn't feel right, then don't do it. We are programmed with this innate intuition that is here to look out for your best interest. We just ignore it because we get busy and then we think we know best or whatever. And it's a practice, right? If you come and you practice consistently every day for 1 hour, and then after a week you're feeling really frustrated because you're like, gosh dang it, I've done 4 hours of practice. Why is my neutral spine not neutral all the time? There are still 23 hours out of just that one day that you are probably not practicing what you're practicing in that 1 hour. Right. So it's practice, which means you get to do it again and again and again. And so lots of body love and body acceptance and grace. And this is where I am. And I know that I can change if I choose to. And I know that I can stay where I am if I also choose to.
No, I think that's great. So tell me a little bit, we talked a little bit about the organization that you just started getting involved in called Something So Worth, correct?
Something So Worth It. Yeah.
Worth it. So tell us a little bit about that.
So they're a local charity that just started, I think, in October of last year. And a mom who has a child with disabilities started the charity, and it's in an effort to be really inclusive of kids with all disabilities so that they have opportunities and chances like every other kid. So we had a really amazing fundraiser a few months ago. I'm really bad with time. Once I get over it, I'm like, oh, that was yesterday, and it could have been last year. It wasn't last year, but it was super fun. Like, all the kids had created items that were for sale. And so you could go in and kind of shop around at this market and stuff. And there were ponies outside and food trucks and stuff. It was really great. And all of the money went to this charity. So I think it's important the same way that as a community, we come together to exercise, or if you go to church, or whatever you do to find that community feel. This charity did the same thing to create that community feel and sense of inclusion for people that maybe don't always get to feel like they're included.
Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So fun. And it is, it's amazing when we step out of our box and our comfort zone, and you realize that there are organizations like that, or children, or pieces we're missing that we just, our own tunnel vision, and then it opens our eyes to the opportunities for us, our families, and the community get involved. So that's great.
We get really myopic, right? And like, this is my space, this is what I'm doing. And the minute that you can step back and even just open the blinders a little bit, sometimes you can just be like, wow, who knew that this is part of my world, you know? So I think it's important to always kind of be looking around side to side, you know, and just to see what's around you.
Oh, I think that's great. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like the viewers to know about your place or you?
So our studio is over on High Street, which is 56th Street and the 101. Super easy access to get to from like north, east, or west. We honestly everybody at the studio is so nice. And not just like my staff because I pay them to be nice, but the people who go there, right? Like somebody new comes in and they'd be like, Adrianne, are you new? Welcome. Is this your first class? Don't worry, it gets better, you know? And like that sense of community is so, so important. And it's real, you know, like it's super authentic. My one Candace who had her hip replaced was on hold on her membership and came in after her surgery just because she wanted to say hi to us and like be part, you know, be in her group. So find a place that feels good to you. It might not be me, it might be CrossFit, it could be something else, but honor that your body can move and then be really patient with that movement and with that practice.
No, I think that's great. Well, we're going to post your information below. So we'll have all the links to your studio address and all that so that they can come and visit you as well. So
thank you so much
being on our show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I hope to see you soon.
Yes. Yes. I can't wait to get to the actual studio and we'll film some more.
All right. That'll be fun.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.